there's nothing wrong with me. This is right.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different way of thinking about it. It's a different way of
Mm-hmm,
processing the
mm-hmm.
world. And why don't I step into that? It took me a long time to realize how deeply unhappy I was,
Mm-hmm.
which is a hard thing for me to even say out loud. I was by 2019, I had been through a lot, and I had walked through a lot, and it made me. It's what makes me as a human being. Just all of the things, from the recall of 2015. But before that too, I mean, raising a company
Mm-hmm.
is, as you know, it's a thing that we do probably because we came from struggle,
Mm-hmm.
right? We really can push ourselves to these extremes because we came from a place where there was already struggle in many ways. We were familiar with that feeling. And actually, we wanted to get through, sort of getting to this next level was so important to us. I don't know if that makes sense to you.
Oh,
But,
it does. Very much so.
And so I think a lot of entrepreneurs come from struggle already. And that's my story as well. So, you come into this as an entrepreneur and you push yourself so hard because, it's like you want to say success is the only option, failure is not, whatever. It's not just that. I mean, you're working to get yourself to a place of safety.
Mm.
And for me, that was what it was. I mean, I loved so much ice cream. I mean, I knew that freedom was so important to me. Freedom is, of expression and life was very important to me, even from when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And so somehow as a 22-year-old young woman, I found ice cream and I knew it was going to be my life. And I also knew that I had to make it work, that this was my way out of this struggle of my family. And so I was able to take that on. But, you do it, you keep pushing and keep pushing. So by 2015, we had the recall, the breakdown, and we got through that, which was magical in so many ways.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the hardest things I've been through, but also one of the coolest things I've ever experienced. But by 2017, 2018, I was pretty broken just from that life. I mean, I really when I look back on it, I think I was really trying to be too many things to too many people and stretched. And, there was tension inside of my body from being stretched in so many directions. I mean, I had children. So, that also becoming a mother in the middle of all of that was complicated. So, so there was I want to say there was a breakdown, or my brain broke. It wasn't dramatic. It was actually the most peaceful thing. But I had this moment in late 2019 where I was I just think I'm done. I think I can't. I really think that I'm just going to disappear. I just felt like I was vaporizing. And I didn't know what to do. Nothing was right in my life. Nothing felt right. Nothing. Not at work, not at home. Weirdly, I do think that I was still a pretty good mom. I think that was one thing I was getting right, but everywhere else, it just felt like it was not right. And I sat down at this beautiful corner of my room, and I just moved, but my old house, I had 43 windows in my room. It was a beautiful space, and the sun was coming in, and I remember just sitting down thinking I can't do this anymore. I think I'm stepping into the end, the darkness or something. I'm kind of losing it or something. And I felt really peaceful about that.
When you say you couldn't do this anymore, was this everything, all aspects of it? Was it the business? Tell me more about what it was you couldn't do. Was it just that person that you had been living into?
Yeah. I mean, I was trying to be a lot of things to different people. I was feeling a lot of pressure. I was also really misaligned. I was deeply misaligned with the people closest to me in terms of vision, the business. So it was when you love something as much as I love Jeni's, you stand for it. And so I was standing for it. I was showing up every day with this, standing for my vision of the company, which, in any company that, you're sort of marrying visions. I mean, you have to be flexible. You have to, compromise. There's compromise involved in that. But I felt like the pendulum was too far on the maybe efficiency side. So I was standing for that, and I'd been doing that for a few years and trying to sort of survive that, I think, with that vision intact of community and art and the creativity that I so much think that, is Jeni's. And at home, it was the same. It was just sort of just out of alignment. And, I'm more of an instinct, emotion, nature sort of thinker. The people who were closest to me were more linear or just very linear. And so I felt very much like that, very different. And I even think that there was this idea of, Jeni's crazy or frenetic. I was getting these vibes from people close to me. I started to feel it. I started to feel that way.
Let me ask you something. I'm just curious about that because I guess we'll just jump around a little bit and go with it. I mean, and just maybe before I say that or ask this question, I really appreciate you sharing what you have so far, even because I think people probably look at you like, as this leader, this public figure. You present very happy, you present, with a beautiful smile, and you're always, traveling to beautiful places and, doing exciting things. People probably aspire. I hear it, people really think of you in a way that they admire quite a bit. Now, I hope they admire you even more for acknowledging that, in fact, you were, in a lot of ways out of alignment or broken or struggling, suffering, whatever, right? Like people need to hear that part too. I think it's really, really important for people to get, especially, in this entrepreneurial world, in the world of, public figures, influencers, it's been talked about, but not enough. I don't think that you're only seeing people's best. And in the reality, we're all the same. We all have the same struggles. Even the idea of, being used to struggle to be an entrepreneur, that's interesting. That's really interesting. And I think most people are unconscious to it because it is so much about the hustle, the can't fail, the make the money, to be successful, to get the post, to do the shit, whatever, right? Really looking at what was underneath that and driving that, is also pretty important to highlight.
It's critical. I mean, I'm connected to many, as you are. I mean, just countless entrepreneurs across America, and now I'm like the entrepreneur, especially for females entrepreneurs, therapist. I mean, I'm the one that people call when they get into crisis. It's interesting that I do present as very happy, and I am. I mean, I think that life is so extraordinary, and I've always felt that, and just I'm so here to just get everything from it. But yeah, it's I definitely am on my Instagram even. I show the shadow, but I don't do it in a way that's clear. I don't tell the story, because I feel like it's not about that. It isn't about the specifics of the story. It's about that is what brings your joy, your love, the other things that you're expressing into relief, into full relief, into 3D. It's what gives you the sort of, I guess, gravity. I mean, here we are, but it really does. It sort of makes the love and the things that you stand for more clear to people when there is that shadow. So I'm very much shadow on my Instagram too. I mean, I almost only do stories because I feel like it's more personal. For some reason, to me, it's a little more private. But I get pretty clear about that.
Yeah.
And I think that it also allows happiness and joy, and I guess I'm not afraid of that sort of death and rebirth. The part of life, because I think that's what makes it's like awe is one of my favorite emotions or things to feel, right? It's like a thunderstorm on a prairie, right? It's got to be scary and beautiful,
Yeah. So many people, myself included, depending on, the conditioning, which is just sort of my, belief, but let the fear it ends with the fear. You know, it can't be part of it. You know, the fear is, you know, what really becomes the end. Like, well, no, I'm not going to do that because that's too scary.
Yes.
And you seem to have a pretty good way of being with all of it, you know, the fullness of it. And so, you know, maybe getting back to, you know, your process of stepping into, I guess that's what I'm maybe more curious about right now in this moment, is just like, how did you choose to step through into, you know, the fear, and into now you have this, you know, realization that you're out of alignment with people that you're working with, that you're, you know, not, you know, living a life that you want to continue to live. Maybe it served you perfectly well to get to that point, but, you know, it's not who you want to be go forward. Realizing that, and then moving through it, stepping into it, you know, talk a little bit about, you know, what came next, you know, in that journey.
Well, so I was just back to my room. I was sitting and feeling very peaceful, and feeling like, okay, I'm just gonna, like, I don't know what's gonna happen. Like, I felt like I kind of felt like I was just gonna, like, vaporize or something. I don't know, but I really felt like finished, like done. I don't know what else to do, and I can't do anymore. I just cannot go on. I'd felt for a while that this diminishing of myself. And what happened was, I looked down and I saw on my book, I was sitting in front of a bookshelf, and I saw Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass, and I picked it up and I opened it to my favorite poem, which is from Leaves of Grass, which was I Sing the Body Electric. And I read it. And that poem is about how your body knows, your body is wise. Your body knows truth. It knows, you know, if you listen to your body, you know the way, basically. And at that moment, I was like, I know the way. Like, I know. Because I think that I had been trying to live in my brain, trying to be linear, trying to, you know, convince people, you know, in my life of whatever. And there's nothing wrong with the people in my life. They do what they do because that's the way that they do it, and that's totally fine. It just wasn't for me. So I realized, like, I live through my body, through experience, through sensorial experience, through emotion, and use my brain to interpret that. But it's, you know, it's never enough. Like, whereas they're more in their brain and linear, and that is how they are seeing the world, right? They being just, you know, I mean, a lot of people. And in reading this, I felt like, okay, there's nothing wrong with me. This is right. It's a different way of thinking about it. It's a different way of processing the world. And why don't I step into that? Like, why don't I just step into that? I understood this when I was young. I understood it when I started Jeni's. I lived in that for so long. And then I got into the business world, which is so cool and so, you know, in a way elegant in its linearity or whatever, you know, but also brutal.
Is it cool? I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm not sure anymore if it's cool. And
I agree with you. And that's a whole,
it's interesting. You know?
I will say about that, like, I think there's a better way. And I think that we can use business and the, that sort of like, there is an elegance to it that I like. I've rarely seen it done well, and I'm trying to do that. I was trying to do that. I think we still are, in fact, at Jeni's. I think there's a better way, and I think that's what we're doing. But
and well, I guess I was kind of curious about that too, just to jump back to the business thing for a minute, because I do think there's a better way. And I think, you know, that's what you and I are trying to do. You know, the reason I, you know, make the comment is because sometimes it feels like it's harder than it should be. And in fact, I'm reading this book called The Mountain Is You. I'm wondering if you know the author, because she seems like somebody you would know. If not, you probably should. I think her name is Brianna Wiest.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway,
but that
she's a
sounds
wonderful
great.
author, and she's a great follow. And I love this book. I've started reading some of her other stuff too. And she talks about, like, when it's when it's hard and when it's a struggle and when you feel like it's out of alignment, like you're trying too hard, then it's probably not right.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, business feels like that. Now, sometimes things
Yes.
are hard, right? I don't know if nothing good comes easy. Maybe that's not even true. But, sometimes things don't happen as easy as you'd like them to, right? Part of the struggle, the suffer is good. But, it does seem like in business, especially as you move into growth, when you start, doing deals with capital partners, private equity guys, people that, are probably not in alignment. That's where I'm like, I don't know, if business, how long can you keep it in alignment, and have it grow and expand? I'm not sure if I've found the answer there.
I haven't either, but I do know that I put a lot of thought into it too. And, I think that the idea that you can control everything is something that I think the sort of business world is taught. Like that's part of the, first of all, I would just say too, that business, from the way that I see it, what I've seen is a culture. It's a culture. It is complicated for being known for efficiency, right? I mean, it is too complicated. And it's a culture. It's a culture of mostly men and a very specific kind of, not just kind of man, but like a very specific culture. And I think that you're invited into that culture if you can exist in the culture without disrupting it, and so that whether it's the boardroom tables, you might see women in there, but they're usually women who are not, who are behaving in that same culture, and it is a command and control culture. I think it's outdated. I think it's very outdated. I think it's not going to work for the future. I do think that some, that there are lessons that have been learned, in the financial world, when you shred a company of its values, you don't make your money back. You're going to lose. I mean, that's the language that they speak. And so they know that there's some amount of that they have to hold on to, or even a lot of that. And so that is a discussion. And I'm lucky that I have partners who are discussing that, and they do seem to understand that in a way that others often don't. But still, it's a struggle, But I think that there is a much better way, and I do see it coming down the pike. I do see a different way